Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and it is January 1st, 3rd, 2026, the first weekend of 2026. I had a great day working yesterday. We're getting some stuff done. It is kind of nice this time of year to work because like there's not as many moving parts, so you can kind of focus and stuff like that. So that was cool. It's like 51 degrees Fahrenheit outside. It feels nice. It feels really, really nice. It rained all night, so it's wet out there, but water, it hasn't rained in a while, and water around here can drain very, very quickly. So everything seems to be working. So we have a bug. We had a bug. We fixed the bug. We found out basically that the aspect ratio was kind of a bit laggy. And so we fixed it. But and then while I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, I see a little problem. But you know what? I'll just make an issue for it and fix it later. And then the Cypress end-to-end testing rooted that bug right out. It was like, nope, this is something that we had working, and we need to get it working again. And that is like that's my favorite thing about Cypress. Did this thing? Okay, so this thing did come up. So just to kind of show you what's happening, and really, so this is kind of when I code like at my job, I probably spend an hour for every hour coding. I probably spend 1 to 3 minutes contemplating like this situation. What I really like about this code, this is for every hour of code that I do, I'm probably contemplating 10 hours. I'm thinking about, oh, what's happening? Why is this happening? What's going on here? And what I believe happened was we're working through things, and we set up a create and a read and then a delete. And then we decided to move towards update, and we just barely got a little taste of it before everything in delete was screwy. It was just like, oh man, this is wrong, that's wrong, we got this bug, this is incomplete, blah 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 blah. Everything started exposing itself as we started to implement the update. And so now we've been like down rabbit holes, sometimes all the way to the create level, sometimes always all the way to the read level. But we're kind of fixing things. We're getting, making everything more solid. And so this aspect ratio is the very, 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 very first sort of thing that we don't really have a choice but to um, fix, or that it's but to implement. Um, so um, and basically, it's just like there's no architecture around there. It's just bleeding. Here's a nut for Rhett. There you go, girl. It is like that was a big old almond nut. I don't know if the bigger ones taste better to her than the little ones or what the deal is, but that was a big giant one. But so what I'm talking about, what happened to be broken is like I went here and then go here and update. And the problem is as I would resize, this aspect ratio was a little laggy. Well, so we got this and I closed this and I'm like, what is going on here? Why do I have this bar here and all that? And that's why I was just like, whatever. I'll just make an issue for it, and whenever I get around to it, I'll go fix that. But then we did unit testing, and there was some work that had to be done for unit testing, and then we had and then I went to end-to-end testing, and the bug that was fixed that Cypress had discovered before, which was the um, aspect ratio, that was fixed, but a new bug. It found a new issue. Um, and since it's a completed issue, I don't want to move forward without fixing it because it was working. And so I don't want to sort of lock in a breakage. Whatever is broken is newly broken. So I think it'll be the easiest. It's very likely going to be the easiest to fix now. There is one change in the code. I don't know what it is. Oh, this is a unit test. Okay, so I'm not worried about that. Okay. So back to this. So now we have our Cypress up and running. Let's see. Um, Start end-to-end testing in Chrome. I'm very sorry. Okay, my timing is all off. Um, I should move this over, cover it, please, and then move it back. At least for now. Maybe I'll come up with a better scheme in the future. But if I remember correctly, it's broken in resize. So let's just go straight to that one. It's good to like test your memory. Test your memory, make sure that the memory is, um, or like if you remember something but then you don't actually use it, I think your brain will say, you know what, we don't need to remember that. I think it's better to do that. Let's see. Added a new ingredient to my little concoction that I drink every morning, and that is creatine. I've heard really, really good things about creatine. So I added it. Supposedly it really helps your brain, not just your brain, but also your, I don't know if I'm interacting with it. See, it's already screwed up. Oh, no, it's not. I thought it was already screwed up. It might be update that where it's broken. That's my next guess. Oh, this is it. This is it. So, yeah. So it's saying expected something, assert that the canvas exists, and then expect the div viz to have a width of 1000, but it's 512, but it's 1000. And then we have this. I guess I'm not that great at finding my problems, but it looks like I have the word 512 hard coded into there. So let's go ahead and search for the word 512 inside of my Cypress folder. So I'll look in here. And I am a true believer in Cypress now. I don't know, like I hear Playwright's really good too. Um, but so it's this resize one. I don't feel like that was it though. I felt like it was this one. Okay, so Canvas should exist. Data cylinder have CSS with 512. And it's because we reduced the viewport to 512. When we reduced the viewport, we expected this. Wait, get Canvas should exist. Okay, that was good. Probably should have another line here. And now we have something called data CY visualization. So I think I could probably search on this. There may be spaces, there's no telling, but maybe we'll get lucky and we can search on that data CY visualization. There's like a million ways to find stuff like this, right? Like there really are. And it's good to have different sort of searching schemes in your mind, and not get too um, sort of stuck. Okay, oh no, so this, yeah, this is it. So right here, this dude was supposed to be 512, and this is our viz component.html. So I don't know exactly how we accomplish that, but I'm going to go to this view. Oh, I'm going to go click on here, and this will put me in the right directory and everything. And I don't know if we have a class of viz. Okay, but viz, all it does is set the color. So I was thinking it might be like a responsive, and it should be responding, but it doesn't look like it. So now we're kind of, I don't know exactly a good way to put into words the next steps, but I would guess width. So we take the viz width, height, and width. Const width is equal to that. And then we're supposed to update the dimensions. Does not seem to be needed. Apparently it does seem to be needed. This update dimensions, so let's go here. Native element style. Okay, so what is the native element? That got passed in. I don't know if this is the, so let's hit the back button. I don't know if this is the outer div or if it's the style. Um, Now let's go ahead and, okay, I'm gonna kill this thing. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it up. And so I'm just minimizing them. So we have the issue right here, right? And basically it's saying that, let's just double check that we are saying, okay, so we actually do hard code the width of this thing because we actually have it set here. Style width is 803. This style is 663. Okay, so am I not calling update dimensions after an update? That is so funny. This does not appear to be needed. So this is our update dimension signal handler. Native element. Render view child. Render view child. Right. Is that the only place this thing gets called? Let's see. It's kind of cool because, oh, okay, so this will only update it, whatever, it'll update any element, it looks like. And it'll only update it if it's changed. So that's pretty cool. Pat on the back to me, to past me. Good job. Good job, past me. Okay, so here we call this update signal handler in this effect. And that should call it, and then update dimensions signal handler. So this calls it too. And it calls this dot render view child. And this dot render view child is named viz. And that's named viz. Okay, so it looks like and this, yeah, so this, I think this is likely the problem that was messing up the renderer, but it looks like, my guess is, this is a stab in the dark at this point, but my guess is what's happening is that um, this is getting called um, before the, I don't know. Well, I'm not sure. It seemed like it was being called with the wrong height and width. So let's go ahead and update. Okay, so console log, we're go back to our console logging. Console log. And I remember before console log, oh my gosh, coding was so hard. Update dimensions. Um, because all we really had was alert. And so like you would alert things to see what the value was. Now, we never built anything anywhere near as complex as what we built. Um, New width and new height. And let's just see. Because basically this is supposed to hard set that. And it's supposed to wait till the next request animation frame. And I'm not exactly sure why we're not seeing the value. I will say that this seems to be a little simpler to sort of get to the bottom of than And again, like I think the thing that just keeps popping out to me is that this, well, okay, actually, no, Viz component should be running. Well, Viz component shouldn't run. Let's see. Let me clear this and just refresh. Okay, it did it. Okay, so there is no Viz component. I guess it's if you're in update mode, you'll get a Viz component. So we'll add one. So it's setting the Viz component dimensions to 200 by 200. Then we come to this, and it's set them up to 200 by 200. Now it should set it to whatever the width of this thing is, which is 678 by 526. Now I expect it to call again. And so it's kind of weird because I don't think, well, we may have a problem. It's, you know what? That was silly. Make life a lot easier if we do this native element. And then that means we'll be able to just mouse over the element that was supposed to be updated. Go to this view, go to this view, edit, boom. Boom. And then update. Okay. So this is the viz, right? And it's 788 by 526. So the width is 788. The height is 526. Now, if we make it a little bigger, see, okay, so we definitely need to um, debounce this. But it's 790. So see, the width of this thing is 7. I think that's the current width right now. Um, so the current width of this is 788 by 526, but it's supposed to be 797 by 526. So we literally passed it in. We actually told it to, but I'm wondering if it didn't get through the logic or this guy. And then I guess just a little something so it stands out. I believe you can set the color too. Um, but or like if you instead of console log, you said like console warning. I think there's like let's try that. Warn. I think it'll be red if it. And I just can't even tell you like that. What just happened now, where I'm trying something like I'll probably use that if this works out the way. I'll probably use that from now on. And that makes me just the teeniest bit more efficient, I think, in the future. And that teeny bit of increased efficiency sort of gets leveraged over the thousands of hours that I hope to work. Oh, okay, so you get this little thing. You know, another thing that you could do, log, and I learned this like a year ago, but I haven't ever used it. You can hit your Windows and dot, and then we can have a smiley face changed, and then F12, and then we can add one. So we got our changed. It got all the way through and set it to 200 by 200. Clear. And then we go to this view and we change and we set it to 200 by 200. Then we hit update. We have our changed and it's set at 796 by that. And if we mouse over, we see that it is in fact 796. So I'm going to clear that. And if I make it smaller, this is where the problem becomes very obvious. I think it's a problem in the other direction too, but it becomes very obvious at this point. Okay, so now we got our change. It was supposed to change it to 640. Oh, so it never did make it through. Okay, so I set up all of that new width and new height stuff ex ex only because I didn't want to redo it over and over and over again. But if I debounce it, I don't even have that issue again. So we don't even need to worry about that. Um, but it is funny because like why? Why did it not new height, current width? For some reason the those things didn't change. Okay, so those are my new height and new width, and then I'm gonna say like this was no new. This is our new data and was or old. Let's just go ahead and stay current. I don't know why I want to do it. I'll be like, oh, I want to be new and was, but it really should be new and old, or it should be uh, current and previous, or is and was, and then this is going to be current. So we are at like that inflection point where it's just like current is about to become, or the new one is about to become the current one, and the words can get very, very confusing in this situation. All right. So we get into all this stuff. This is a case that should never even happen. You really are supposed to be only able to navigate to this um, because it existed, but it doesn't exist yet. So, okay. So we got to change. It was 00. It became 200. So that's good. Then we come in here and it says it is 200 by 2. It was 0. So that's good. Update. It is 639 and 596. It was 0 and 0. So it worked. We got our smiley. Now let's get a little bigger. Okay, so this got called 4 times. That is definitely a problem. Oh, and then it got called twice while it was the same. I don't even know when it was 639. That is so interesting. Yeah, so is and then was stays the same. Is and was. So somehow the current value is not changing. It's like we're changing the current too soon before this gets called. But again, I think I want to just abandon that entire concept of is and was because I just don't. I think if we just debounce it, that solves the problem. And this, we could figure it out. We could spend like time figuring it out, and we might end up figuring it out. But it doesn't seem like it's a good idea to stick with this. And once we get rid of this and we just debounce it, and I guess we should debounce it first. Um, it won't fix the problem, but let's just see everywhere where this thing gets called. I guess the easiest way to see everywhere where this thing gets called is by changing the name. and letting the transpiler look throughout the code base. Just make sure I'm not calling this in some other place. Okay, so I only see it. It looks like it was, this is our, how do we tell what file this is? Oh, scroll up a little bit. So this is in the viz component, and this is, so it looks like it's only in the viz component. So that's good. Um, and now I want to get rid of, everywhere I call this, I want to only call it on a debounce. I don't want to call it, and I always want to update. So I'm moving away from the concept of saving previous values and checking to see if the previous values existed to, I'm trying to lean more into debouncing, saying, hey, if I call you 100 times, don't, in a second, only run it once at the very end, like a fraction of a second after I'm done updating, um, which I think is better, but it's not going to be sufficient because we are going to have things that just are constantly going to run over and over and over again. So debouncing is not going to solve that situation, and we will probably have to store old data and new data and just see if something changed before we actually have it make changes. Um, so you know, so this won't be sufficient, but um, it will solve probably 95% of the cases. Um, and sometimes that's worth it, and sometimes it's not. I know that like for example, one big sort of, I don't know what the word is, like controversy that we have here in the States is around solar energy. And when I hear the people talking about it, the lawmakers and different people talking about it, uh, they what they'll do is, okay, so this one does not need to be debounced, I don't think, because this only gets called once. But we are definitely getting rid of those two. Well, okay, I didn't want to do that. Okay, so this one doesn't need to be debounced because end you after view init only happens one time. Um, Now, this is definitely wrong. I would imagine that it didn't seem like it was needed. Probably the outer thing was probably 0 by 0, so we couldn't quite see that something was wrong. But the end-to-end test definitely would have caught it. Okay, so where's the other one? There's another one here. And this guy is the one that's getting called lots of times. And so we need the debounce service. But so when I hear the lawmakers and those guys in their meetings talking about it, like they will often say like when they're arguing about whether to use solar or not, they'll be like, when it's cloudy, we can't we only want to we only want to replace a our existing technology if it can be replaced. But if it can't be replaced, we don't want to add the new technology. So like they don't, so the idea is that we need, let's say, 10 units of energy a day. On a cloudy day, the solar can only produce sometimes near zero, or at night, near zero energy. So since there's the possibility of having zero, that means we have to maintain all of our existing just so that we can on bad days, but so that we can have enough energy on bad days. And they don't want to do that, right? So this is a situation where it's not always going to solve the problem, that this problem, but it'll solve the problem a lot of times. So it is worth, even though we can't get rid of that old comparing and stuff like that, we can do it. So it looks like we're already pulling in the debounce service. So it's still worth it to me, even though it's not always going to solve all our issues. So that is interesting. So that is already debounced. So, but this one is not debounced. And we can, yeah, apparently we can get into this initialized situation many times too. But this is only when it's initialized. So it kind of looks like it's already debounced. Console.log debounced. Window period. See, confused. There we go. That's a good one. This is confusing me because it looks like we're already debouncing it. So now we're only debouncing it for 60 milliseconds. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe we needed to go longer. Well, so it is. So yeah. So it's already debounced. So that's the good sign. The good news is it's already debounced. The bad news is that did not solve the problem. And maybe debouncing is what caused the problem. Maybe it added time so that these were the same. But let's see, there we go. And then okay, so we haven't hit that to bounce yet because we don't have the little confused thing. Update. Okay, we still haven't gotten the debounced yet. So it's been initialized every time, which makes sense. We go through the if this component is initialized. So yeah, so it hasn't been initialized every time we call this now. Okay, so yeah, I got called 3 times it bounced, and then it got called here and got called there. And then we still have a problem because we have that. So now I'm wondering, just for fun, what if we make this 600, right? So that is going to be about a little over half a second that it's going to wait before it calls it. See if that solves the issue. I don't think it will because I think we still will have where it gets called. I think what's happened is, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Add viz. Then there we go. And then so we haven't debounced yet. Everything is good though. Now it's no becomes very obvious. Okay. So it's supposed to be 660 by 526. But as you see, it's small. The visualization, the actual canvas of the drawing is that big, is 660, but this one is only 586. Now that we're debouncing though, okay, so I want to move this. I guess 100 milliseconds is a fair amount. I don't know. We'll definitely get better at that with time, but I want to get rid of the whole old and new with concept. And this is like another example of something that I like if we were in 2008 right now and I was working at CNN, I would be very, very hesitant to make this kind of change because it was so hard back then to figure out what in the world. Um, like what unintended consequences you may have unleashed. Now this is if we were checking, if we were writing real unit tests like that with the idea of testing things, this would likely break the unit tests. but if we weren't, then it won't. And we don't really get a lot. Well, we do. I guess we get some value out of it because maybe in the unit tests I might have added extra comments. Okay, so now this doesn't have to be here. See, that's one of the nice things about this, like putting it like this, where every one of the arguments, I don't remember, is it called an argument or a, um, I can't even remember what these things are called. There's like two words for them. One of them is for when you are passing it. I believe they're arguments when you're passing it, but then when you're receiving it, they are. It's weird. I'm drawing a real blank on that. All right, so I can comment that out so that as I'm debugging, it's a little easier to be able to go back. Okay, did it compile? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's complaining about something down. Oh, up, 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 up. We're looking at the little red things here. Ah, I've been thinking about this project a lot, and I'm like, I feel like there's like what probably the most important thing for me that I got to make sure that works this way is that I can work on a visualization offline. So I want to be able to like maybe draw something, export some text like a CSV and a JSON, and either a CSV or a JSON. I want to be able to do both and be able to then tweak it outside and then re-upload it. And I don't think you can really and I've worked in a lot of places that try to do stuff like that before and failed. Every one of them. Like never seen that succeed anywhere. Um, but I'm pretty sure that you have to build it that way first. Like everything has to work as an upload. And then once it all works as an upload, you can start adding little things so that you can tweak things in real time. But if you don't do it that way, you will always forget to do something. If you're like, oh, okay, we make it work in the UI first and then we do upload, you're always going to paint yourself into a corner that you can't get out of, I think. All right, so what does this guy look like? Okay, so got to bounce. It changed once and it got to bounced. So yeah, that was more than 100 milliseconds, and then there was like a little pause or whatever, and it is wrong. Dang it. Why didn't it change it to 586? Oh, it didn't get through the change. It didn't. Did I delete that code? Wait, did we get the last changed? Did we? Oh yeah, we did. We did. We got this last changed. Okay, so I'm going to change it to like a 1 second to bounce, not because that's what I want it to be, but because I think it'll be easier to set like a breakpoint, and we can see what in the world is going on. Because that is weird to me. Like it says that it got width and height, and then it says that it set this up to set this on the next request animation frame to this width and this height. Right? So like at that point it got 586 and 626 in, but um okay, okay, so that's not even accurate actually. Okay. Because yeah, so what happens if I open this? Let's hit inspect. So it is 586 and then this one is, oh wait, So this is 586 and this, so they are the same. Now they aren't the full width for some reason. Like I can see, so if I make it smaller, do I get the, oh no, they're gone. Okay, so that issue has gone away. Okay, so is it only, do I still, if I bring this, I brought it, did I ever bring it up to a second? I don't think. Okay, no, it's tenth of a millisecond. Okay, so let's go back to our end-to-end tests and tell it to rerun it. It's got these 2-second waits. And that was just more so we could enjoy the show. But the value is 497. So it did not. So it did solve it. Like it solved the visual problem of this, but it did not. I changed it to 512. For some reason, like everybody's in sync, but everybody's wrong now, which is better. I guess it's better for everyone to be wrong. But I changed the viewport to 512, and for some reason, now let's come back over here into our console log. See, everybody's right. Everybody's good with this 485. But I think I remember seeing that. Where are you? There we go. That, yeah, it's smaller than the actual viewport width. It's smaller than the actual viewport width. How is it getting a viewport width? See, its viewport width is wrong. I don't know. I'm guessing that this, so, okay. So it appears that this code is fine now. If it was given the right information, it would have made it the right size. So it appears that, and I'm thinking the information is passed in here in this viz width and viz height. Like it was supposed to get passed in the actual full viewport width and viewport height, but it didn't, it never got that passed in. So like this viz width signal and all that, that's what got, but it never got like console log. Let's see. I'm just gonna do, so I'm just okay, here's what I believe. I believe that the parent is not, the parent component is not passing in the correct viewport width and viewport height. It's probably some kind of timing issue. Um, that's what I believe. And now I'm just trying to validate it because it's a lot quicker to validate it here than it is to like go over there and then find out that I had an invalid idea. What is that thing? It's a squid. Uh, is there an update one? Change. Oh, it's a changing like a diaper. I guess we'll go with coral. Okay, so if we see that little coral, then that got called. And we should see it all over the place, right? It should get called a lot. I need to save Control S. Let's go ahead and get out of this view. Go to views. So we got our coral. And then I don't think there'll be any change here, right? If I change this. And then we will change this view. And this is like a weird problem. And it doesn't surprise me that we have this weird problem. But and I will say that in most places I've ever worked, we would ignore this weird problem. We would figure out something and we would ignore it. I can promise you it is whatever the fix ends up being is going to be so much easier now than it will be once we've added more layers of code to the top of this thing. Okay, so we got this little coral thing, which is as expected when we first started. Now I'm going to make it a little smaller. And so, yeah, so we ended up getting a width of 596, but that is smaller than the actual viewport width. Okay, so, but it is actually 596. That was what we actually ended up, or yeah, 590. It ended up being 590, but 590 is not right. We do this, it should be 605. But we never get 605 passed in. So before we were getting numbers passed in, they were the wrong numbers, but we were getting them passed in, and then we weren't updating to the numbers that were getting passed in. So that was bug number one. But now we have a backup bug, a second bug that we exposed because we fixed the first bug. And that bug is that we're not passing the right number in. Okay, so how does this guy we're working in app layout. How does he get his width? Okay, we are in, that is the actual unit test. We don't want the unit test. So we have a viewer width and a viewer height that we use. Okay, so now, and this is viewer. This whole thing is viewer. So what I'm going to do is, I wonder if I can make a style. Border 1px solid. I wonder if pink is a word, is a color. And then let's just do this view here. And then, so it doesn't look like that worked. Because I believe that they've got it to where it does the updates. So this is our visualization. This is our viz. Okay, this is our viewer. And it does have a border, but it's not showing it, even though, oh, because I misspelled style. Okay, so now we have a little pink border. I think the problem is the border kind of screws the size of things up. Um, there's like a border box that will tell it to not change the size, that it'll actually add the border around the outside without changing the size. But I'm just going to leave it like this. So what I'm thinking is happening is like if I do this, it's kind of wild because it does feel like my viewer is matched up. I feel like that looks right to me. Let's go like console log. 619. Oh, way down here. 619 by 654. Okay, so that's that. So this is the size of our visualization. And you can see by the pink where the viewer he goes. It's supposed to be the same size as the viewer. So for some reason, this viewer. So now we'll come over here and we'll work our way backwards from here. Because so this is our viewer view. We did make changes to this, so maybe that one of those changes is what broke it. I mean, I thought all we did was change the name of it, but it is possible that exists equals true. And then that's that. Okay, and so it's viewer width that is screwed up. So let's just go look at this one. So in this effect, we changed our width. Now what causes the effect? Okay, so if we change the route, okay, so this effect is executed if, and then I believe this is probably a current route service, current route, go to definition. So that's a signal. You can tell this is a signal. All right, so um, the current route signal. So that route doesn't change from any of those. Okay, this is probably a signal too. Yep, viewport signal. I think this might end up being like a really important thing to do whenever you're using signals is sort of right at the top, say everything. Okay, this process visualization, aspect ratio signal. And then that's it. So those three things will fire it off. And it looks like we are width. This viewport width is equal to width. So this viewport resize service should fire off. Okay. But it appears that it's not getting fired off. Maybe when it's supposed to. So anyways, let's just double check that. Console.log. Okay, so this thing is from update app update layout component. And then window plus. Is there like a grid? It's weird. Okay, so like emojis, see more emojis. Here, we'll do a collision. Collision was okay, so and then basically I guess we want to put this here. Again, these are like brand new technologies. Like they're brand new for me, anyways. And width and height. And yeah, and there's just learning curves. That's just like how things work. So I'm definitely probably making mistakes right now that I would not have made, that I will not be making a year from now. But honestly, most of the people who are competing with me, so this is 634 by 125. So this app update layout again, and I keep saying that over and over again. This thing is running code when it's not even visible. So we need to add some code in there, but or add some like logic in here that says, hey, am I even visible? Don't run any of these effects if I'm not visible. Um, okay, so now we have, and it's still 634, which is all good, right? That's exactly what it'll end up being. And then update. Ooh. Okay, so now it's just complaining that something, this is that expression change. That it's very strange that adding this console log caused this. So if we don't have that console log, we don't have that bug, I don't think. Because I feel like that's the only thing that we did. This is one of the things I hate the most about Angular. Maybe the worst thing I hate about Angular. I don't know. There's a lot of things Angular is the best of the best of the best. There are certain things about it I hate. And that expression change thing is way up there. And I honestly don't have any idea why it's even a bug. Oh no, so we still had that. What the heck happened? We were not getting this just a second ago. That's not funny, right? Okay, so it is upset about on line 9. It's upset in the HTML. And it's because we're setting this viewer width here. And basically it's saying, hey, that viewer width changed. But we were not having this problem a second ago. And now this just came out of nowhere as a new problem. So it went from 634 to 619. Is what it's saying. And that might, it could be the border. I wonder if that border is curious. And it is the weirdest thing because that is like a issue that you just don't ever like. It's not an issue. No one cares. They don't care. And then suddenly it's the end of the world. Like that is one of those things that goes, okay, so it appears to be that border caused that problem. And I think it makes sense. Let's just make sure because it did do kind of that HAR update. Um, I guess that makes sense because like the border does change the dimensions when it gets added. So, but I would never have thought that that would be the kind of thing that could cause that expression change issue. Some CSS, and suddenly now you have this issue. Yeah, so it was that border, literally a CSS border. I never, ever, ever, ever could have been laying there at night, kind of thinking about what in the world is causing that expression change, and thought, oh, it's a CSS border. That just would never like, and it still is just a big like if I hadn't seen it myself at this point, and I'm glad I have it recorded because I do watch all my own videos, and I'm definitely going to be glad to be reminded of this when I hear this in the future. Um, Again, that's crazy. All right, so well, definitely that was a growing thing. So here we go. We have our changed. Everybody's happy. Got our coral 634. We got that. So we definitely want these. If when this comes in, we want that to match that. And so when we make this smaller, that was interesting. So the little vertical bar showed up for a second there. And I'm wondering if that's what screwed things up. Because it's just like a little smaller. So this number, 576, is in fact wrong. I think it's wrong. I don't know. 567. Okay, 567, 567, 567, 567. Now, if I click on, so, and that's too small. And actually, I do think that that is actually the size of the scroll bar. If you look over there, this is smaller. Oh, you are a pain in the butt. This is smaller than that, and I'm pretty sure, oof, you are just being a pain. I'm pretty sure that that darker, that I can't put my mouse over because the second I mouse over it, that darker piece is what was the scroll bar. And now the scroll bar is gone. And so the scroll bar went away after it refigured things out. Um, and the viewport. So that was the viewport size. But I don't want it to be the viewport size. I want it to be I guess, the visualization's width, not. And I never would have thought of that. So we actually want it to be the viewport width, not the viewer width. At some point, we may not want that, but yeah, that dang scroll bar thing. So, and I'm guessing that even if we debounce things, it won't make a difference. Viewport resize width. Viewer width. But it is, okay, so it is the view. Now I'm confused because we were viewer width. Okay. Okay, viewer view. Okay, where are we using this thing? I ended up calling this as editor view. Update ST visualization size. And I actually use the viewer, but for some reason we named it native element. And then I pass this to this resize. So I'm going to change this to viewer. And then when I do my resize visualization, the problem is that I'm passing in this native element. And again, this is the same problem with aspect ratio that I had before, where it's just like, I'm going to read, instead of taking full control and setting it, I'm going to read what it is and then determine it that way. And I don't want to do that. I actually want to set it. And I think I learned this in responsive. So responsive layout, what you do is you respond to the size and fit everything in. And that's it works fine. It's a really good scheme. But in this specific scheme, we have to take control of everything. So I think this is our problem. And then finalize initialization. So this is our problem. I think the editor views offset width is not. This ended up being what I believe. I'm not 100% sure on this, but this is what I think ended up becoming a what you would call an anti-pattern. We kind of went along kind of a responsive mindset. It was like, okay, we're going to see what it is and then set it based on what it is, um, and then we're going to. But really, we know exactly what the width should be. It should be the visualization. At this point, we know that the rule is that it's supposed to be the full width of the. It's not always going to be that way. That's why we need to control it from here. But it needs to be the full width of the um, client of the viewport, not the width of the viewer. Because at that moment, that width of the viewer changes. It changes based on whether you have a scroll bar or not. Okay, so and then the time I think that, and I've run into this problem a lot in web development. The When you make changes, the scroll bar doesn't go away till after the changes are made. So you can end up in a kind of a I've definitely seen this in the wild and have had to fix this bug in like serious places where like you make a change, it causes the scroll bar. Make another change, it causes the scroll bar to go away, which then causes another change, which brings the scroll bar back, which then forces another change, and you can end up in like a sort of a weird loop. Um, okay, so viewer width. So I'm just going to add a comment here that says viewer width um, doesn't work, does not work because the scroll bar comes and goes. Now I believe there's another width that doesn't that ignores the scroll bar, so we could use that probably, um, like maybe width or something like that. But I don't. I think that that's a bad pattern, and I think we should use the viewport width um, instead of the viewer. Now the height probably makes sense because see that's what's so different about the height. The height. Well, no, the height can do the same thing. You could end up with a scroll bar that changes the height. So, but we don't really have a better thing right now because okay, um, probably need to use the viewport width, which I believe we actually do have a signal that has that information. And I think we can just use it here. Like, I think we can just go, and this will ask for it. So in this scenario, inside of this effect, it actually causes like a where it is going to run anytime that changes. I think in the scenario below, I can just use um, it, and I don't think it subscribes to it. So I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I don't know, but anyways, we are saving it there, so I guess let's try this, since this might actually be the fix. Now the thing is we don't have scenarios in place yet that we can actually code a final solution for this. So this is like a band-aid solution. But it's kind of like it's say you had this big empty field in front of you and you were going to build a neighborhood in there and you're not exactly sure where the intersections are going to be, but you decided, you know what, I'm going to start putting up the stop signs now. Like I don't have the infrastructure in place yet for this, for the issues. I don't even know what the issues are going to be. So, and then that seems right. Yeah, I think that fixed it. And again, it's not a bad fix. There's nothing wrong with the fix, but unfortunately, it's not a final fix. I wish it was a final fix. So let's see. Woo, 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 woo. So yeah, they're all fixed. All right. So yeah, so we got some code cleanup to do. Now at this point, I believe we can write. Let's do this while we're here. We can kill this, and if we want, from here on out, run Cypress run, and then this will run them headless and just tell me if they all pass or not, which was not a luxury that I could enjoy a week ago. Because basically I had known fails or a known fail. Um, and there's like been like when I was making those changes that were literally just TypeScript changes, it would have been nice just to be able to say npx Cypress run instead of running through it. Now with this change where it actually is changing the UI, I would definitely want to manually run through all the tests. Um, just because sometimes, I may not have an assertion that works right, that actually tests everything. So, but and I don't know exactly what's taking so long. I wish I need to get rid of those waits, those 2-second waits. Looks like something's happening down there. So I'm looking down at this bottom area right here. I guess I should make this bigger since this is the show. Missing base URL and compiler options. TS config path will be skipped. This is nice. But as you can see, like the scroll bars will kind of come in and go out and stuff. Here we go. I don't know if this saves any time. Lord. Just sitting here staring at the screen. While we're here, I wonder what this problems is. I don't even know what this is. I only have 33 problems. Ah, yeah. This is my main annoyance. Um, is that the types, the CY, the Cypress, and that other one, they just don't play well with each other. This is still sitting. I don't know. Okay, here we go. So they all passed. It claims that was 5 seconds. That was way longer than 5 seconds. 2 seconds. The screenshots thing is really nice. Video false. I think if something fails, it might make a screenshot. And like all this work I've been doing, I haven't even considered keyboard, thought about keyboard, but this just tested it. This just did that quick run through of making sure you can do everything with the keyboard still. This is like really nice, like in the morning when you first start working, to have these sorts of tests so that you can just like kick them off, go get some coffee, go do whatever you're trying to get your brain in the right place for the day, and then um, once they're all done, you can you can or the, yeah, and this will just run through everything, just make sure that the website's still up and running and all that. Let's see, this is the very end. We are passing everything end to end is done. So that's good. How about unit tests, npm run test? And this one also takes a while to start. And I wouldn't be surprised if they break because I changed the number of arguments um, in the unit in a couple of functions. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's some small breakages. If there are, I will definitely fix those tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a good day to fix those, and then do a commit, and then pick up the next issue, which will probably be, I wonder if it'd be that animation one where we get multiple animations. So basically, I don't know, as you notice, like as we go here, here, this thing just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. And then if we look at our um, these, we'll see. Oh no, what's going on? I don't know why it was doing that, but you'll see we have all these new animation. Every time I change views, that new animation shows up, and there really should only be the first one. The rest of these are just kind of like being added. Um, so that's definitely a bug. And again, that's like an infrastructure thing that was just kind of like I knew I wanted to put a space aside, like section off an area for animations, but I didn't really have enough to get the animations working. Guess I could also look to see what is the next video I want to work on here shortly. Looks like it is going to be say hello. So that will be my next video here in a second. I don't even remember what I'm doing for say hello, but I do have some downtime here while I'm waiting for these damn unit tests. I think if none of them fail, we're probably still going to be good at 100%. Looks like they all passed. Oh no. We are missing 6 lines of code, one branch, two functions, and partridge in a pear tree. Okay, so coverage. Looks like that's what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. Let's just go ahead and sort. Sort again. Yeah. So app viz has a couple of issues. It looks like the only one that has issues. Let's look in here, but it's got a service. Okay, yeah. So no, yeah, we knew about this. Okay, so this one should be easy. Set AR for width and height. We just call it, give it a width, a renderer ID, a number, and all that, and then it's going to go call this function, which is literally just going to add to it. I don't even think it has to exist. I think it just blindly adds it to there, and I guess we're just going to look for true. So that's easy peasy. And yeah, it's just one function, 2 lines of code. This guy, I think, is going to be a little bit more complicated. Okay, so basically I need to pull all of this into its own function, call that function from here. So it doesn't matter, and even pass in whether it's initialized or not. That'll be perfectly fine. That's probably all we need to pass in. Then we'll call that function from the unit tests and we'll set that to true. And we should get 100%. I don't know. We might also need to pull this. Well, so this should get called and it should call with these, but this function in here may not get called. So we might need to pull this into its own function, which I think the difference is this guy, this visualization. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. But anyways, yeah, so that one's gonna be a little trickier. I don't see it being a major problem though. I mean, when I first started a couple years back, or last year, at the beginning of 2025, and it was the first time I was like, hey, we're gonna do unit tests. That would have probably taken me 3 or 4 days to figure out. But now I've done it so many times, it just is obvious. We definitely have a bunch of console logs that probably need to go. But anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.